how do we show up for ourselves while we're showing up for so many others? And so I wanted to kind of share some unorthodox ideas about prioritizing, because I think all the time we're so connected or attached to this idea of balance from a workplace perspective. And I like to come from it from a whole life perspective. So that's me. And I'm going to pass the mic on over to Derek.
Hey, Derek. And again, if any of our other panelists are here, at least either raise your hand or put in the chat panelist here, just so I can bring you up. It'll be much easier for me to find you that way. I apologize, Derek. Go ahead.
No worries. Good evening, everyone. My name is Derek Jones. I'm the founder of United Coin. We're the first Black-owned cryptocurrency bank and exchange in the world. Right now, what we're doing is we're kind of learning how to be parents over here. I have a 5-month-old son, and I'll tell you that this experience has taught me a lot in regards to productivity, in regards to prioritizing, as Ashley mentioned. And I can honestly say that what I thought I knew before has changed greatly as a result of being a father. I've seen the workload that my wife has. She's breastfeeding currently. And I understand now what it means to be a father. And I'm working from home. So by doing a lot of work with my son around, I'm starting to learn a lot about productivity. And that's kind of what attracted me to this, was because I've had to do some things in my own life that have been in regards to rearranging those priorities and kind of putting some things on the back burner in order to be able to achieve my goals. And so that's kind of why I'm glad that I'm here this evening.
Yeah. So I will say, as somebody who is not married and doesn't have kids, I still feel time challenged as well. So, all of us are coming from different places. So everybody, I want you to put a 1 in the chat if you feel time challenged. Put a 1 in the chat if you feel time challenged. So we're all able to, to at least be honest about that. So we have the ones coming through. I also want to ask people, what are some of the things you would do if time was not an issue? What are some of the things you would do if time was not an issue? I would love people to put that in the chat as well. And Ashley and Derek, I want to toss that out to the two of you. If time weren't an issue, what are some of the things you would do?
For me, it'd be reading and listening to speeches and just taking in history and knowledge and art. I'd love to be able to explore and learn more and more, because I think that when you do have time, that's what we naturally do as social, innovative human beings, is we explore more of art and more of history and more of our humanities and our cultures.
Yeah. What about you, Derek? What would you do?
I hate to be a parrot here, but I would definitely dive into my creative side a lot more. I've, as a result of NFTs and the growth of art in the cryptocurrency space, I remember now when I was a child that I always wanted to be an artist. Right. And so now I'm starting to kind of dive into that. I've been curating some art for a project that we're working with the Black Heritage Day calendar, that's also partnered with Google Assistant. And so as a result of that, I've been kind of opening up my mind as to what I really want to do in my later years. And I would say a lot of that has to do with art. A lot of that has to do with my creative side, and even maybe doing some things with music.
And hi, is it Iro or Iro? I don't want to say your name wrong. And you're on mute. You're on mute, my dear.
Hi, I apologize. I was having a little trouble logging in. It's Iro.
Iro. So first of all, tell us a couple of sentences about yourself, and are you time challenged?
Yes, well, my name's Iro Summers. I'm originally from Chicago, or right outside of Chicago, Illinois, in Oak Park. I work in the healthcare industry, and I'm a clinical lab scientist. I'm also currently a medical student. So yes, I am time challenged, but I am definitely have had to find ways to be productive, as well as not just be productive in terms of my profession, but as you alluded to, Cherie, at the beginning, is to handle the other responsibilities that I have, as well as leading a full life in my other roles. Yeah, so.
And if we have any of our other panelists here, I know I keep saying this, I just don't want to forget anybody. Just put your hand up, let us know that you are here. So for our time challenged people, we asked some of the things they wanted to do. Lewis said traveling. I love traveling. Sauda said laying out in the sun and reading. Frederica said, this is one. Dedrick said more books, working on my passion for photography. Felicia said photography as well. Kevin said pass a combine at a hedge fund and get funded to be a professional trader. Perfect. Mel, said produce more documentaries. That is time consuming. God bless anybody who knows how to not edit and all of that stuff. I've seen some amazing things on YouTube as well, and just the amateur side of it. Yeah, so that's great. So I'm very interested in then having the conversation with the three of you. And like I said, I do have an opinion about this. We'll see how controversial it is, because it may not be. But what are some of your thoughts with regards to the fact that I'm going to actually ask the question in the chat. How many hours per week do we have? Don't look at your calculator and don't Google it. Everybody gets the same number of hours every week. How many hours a week do we get? 168. Antoine is right. 168 hours every week. Whether you're Jeff Bezos or you're Elon Musk, I know, or you're Oprah, or you are you are a waitress, or you are, anything in between. You're a mom, you're not a mom, etc. You're a dad, you're not a dad. You have a newborn, you have 22-year-olds that you're still running behind trying to make sure that they have themselves together, right? We all get 168 hours every week. What are some of the things that we can do in order to be more productive with that time? We have people who want to do things anything from photography and creating more documentaries to somebody wanting to do something for their career. I'm going to open it up to the panel here as well. What are some of the tips that you all have?
Well, I would like to say I read a book, and I hope many of you have read it too. It's by Stephen Covey. That's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I think that the most important thing that any of us can do is start with the end in mind. I think too often we're chasing everything except for the things we most desperately and really want. And when you look over your life and you think about the memories, you think about what it is you've accomplished, usually it's going to have something to do involving with your family, your children. I wish I had spent more time watching their formative years. Those are the things that people are going to talk about, right? And so what I propose is that you really visualize your perfect life, what it is you most desperately desire first, and start there with your prioritization. It's not about a certain thing in your bank account. It's not necessarily about a book you're going to write and how many words you got to write a day. It's really about what is the aim at the end that I'm going for, and how can I accomplish that right now and not in some far off future.
Yeah. I mean, I think with with beginning with the end in mind, it really is about kind of sitting still for some of us and really deciding what that is. I think a lot of times we're so um, all over the place because I'm sorry, I'm going to bring up Diane as well. We're so all over the place because we don't really know what we want at the end of the day. And because of that, we're not as productive versus somebody who really knows what they want, even though they may have 5 kids, single mom,
Yeah.
working 3 jobs, she still is able to get that side thing done because she's got this determination and laser focus. I'll open it up to Ero and Derek. What are your thoughts, sorry, with regards to this?
I'll
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll go. So kind of piggyback on what Ashley said a little bit about that productivity and the end in mind. I'm really big on goals and on to-do lists. I've learned that what happens when I write things down is I get, some people may or may not know this word, but manifest. I get into this manifestation mindset. And so one thing that I've done, and I was actually, I mean, it's very interesting to say how I learned this tactic, but I actually learned this tactic from an older gentleman. Some people may call him a bum. I actually purchased lunch for him one day, and he came up to me and he said, Jesus came up to me and told me to tell you something. He said that the way for you to be able to manifest your goals and to be absolutely productive is before you go to bed at night, write down every single thing you want to do the next day. Write down every single thing you want to do and pray upon it. Once you pray upon it and you go to sleep, something happens. For the next 6 to 8 hours, if you're asleep, your mind is completely focused on generating those goals, right? You're completely focused on it. And then when you wake up in the morning, you get this vigor that's a little bit different than you'll have other days. You may or may not need to look at the list, but for some reason, a path has been furrowed into your day where you're able to then accomplish these things with ease. And as a result, that's how I like to spend my evenings, for about 10 to 15 minutes, writing those lists, praying upon them, staying focused on them, and then the next day, making sure that I achieve those goals. As a result, I'll be honest, I've probably achieved every goal I've ever had since that moment.
Well, I want to piggyback then off of what Derek is saying. So first of all, not only is there a religious aspect to it, there's actually a scientific aspect to what Derek is saying, because subconsciously what happens in your mind, is what I read, is when you write it out, like just before you go to bed, during the night, your mind is kind of thinking through, like, how do I do this? And then how do I do this? And then how do I do this? And that way, when you wake up the next morning, you are like ready to go. So there's a scientific aspect of that as well. The other thing that I will say, or I'll ask, or I'll throw out there for people is this. As an entrepreneur, I get phone calls coming in, from prospects, from my team members working with me, things like that. One of the things that I learned early on was not to book every second of my day, to leave a portion of my day for, if some of you may be in a work environment, the pop-ins, right? Hey, and you don't want to like be so antisocial with people, because that can affect your career too, right? Well, for me, the pop-ins happen on the phone. It happens with email. It happens with, hey, Cherie, I've got this opportunity for you, things like that. So I'm again curious the panel thinks about this. Yes, having things that you want to accomplish, and it may just be one big thing that you need to accomplish tomorrow, but not sketching out like every second of the day. Otherwise, you don't have any real flexibility. What are your thoughts with regards to that?
Well, yeah, so just before I address that, I also wanted to say, kind of agreeing with the panelists, what you guys kind of talked about was kind of preparing, what I like to say, preparing your mind, your soul, your inner man before actually jumping into whatever activity. You know, Ashley, you talked about kind of being clear about the end, and what I heard was kind of like making sure that you're aligning what you're doing with your values. And then with Derek, you know, you're preparing, you're leveraging how the human brain works to set kind of those intentions internally before you even start the action. And so that's a lot. That's kind of what I was saying, what I was going to say. You have to prepare your inner man, for lack of, or inner woman, for lack of a better phrase, for the action. And I think that's what people get away from. There's a phrase called the tyranny of the urgent. And that's what can happen if you don't prepare. Then you wake up and maybe you're behind schedule or something happens, kids talk, or a partner or some other emergency. And that's how people get anxious, because they haven't prepared themselves, kind of taken, if you will, command of the day before it even starts. And then just to address Cherie, what you said, am I pronouncing it right? Your name correctly?
Yeah,
Cherie?
go ahead.
Yes, actually, a friend of mine, actually one of my best friends, who's her time management is amazing, and she's really resourceful. But we discussed that, and we kind of discussed how, yes, don't schedule every moment of your day. We're not robots. That's not how human beings work. You need, even if you don't, even you're working at home, you're by yourself, you won't have pop-ins. It allows you also to have that room to process, to reflect, to give your body and your mind rest, so that you're not just hitting goals, or hitting activities or duties, but you're doing them mindfully, and in a way that is supportive of your overall well-being, as opposed to just like rushing through a schedule. And you really aren't, even as you pursue goals, you should be enjoying life. That's my attitude, especially after what we've experienced with the pandemic. You should be enjoying your life, even while, no matter what demands that you have.
So let's see, I have so many notes here. So a couple of people wrote down about saying no to certain things as well. And that was one of the things on my list here. Is I'm at a point in my life, 46 years old, getting to a point finally where I'm accepting that I am not Superwoman. Karen, what's her name that did the Superwoman? Karen White lied to us. How many of y'all remember Karen White's Superwoman song? That tells me all of a particular age, right? I'm accepting of the fact now that I can't do it all. And the hardest thing for me to do was to let things go. My mother is like, why don't you let that go? I'm like, either I made commitments to people, or, it just wasn't something I was ready to let go of at the time. And someone wrote in here, I think it was Kevin wrote in here about the writing a not to-do list is sometimes as important as writing a to-do list. For some of us, the not to do is picking up the phone when that friend that drains you calls, right? Sometimes the not to do list is not accepting the additional project at work that you can't do because you've got so many other things on your plate. I'm curious. I see all of my panelists shaking their heads, and I'd love to hear from the chat as well. What are some of the things, and I'm going to actually circle this in as well. December is always my time to reflect on the past year, think about what I want to take into next year, what I want to leave in 2021, right? What I want to take into 2022. What are some of the things that are either not on your on your to-do list or on your not to-do list, or that people within the audience should think about as well? Maybe it may not be your thing, but something that people may want to consider with that as well. Go ahead,
Well,
Arrow.
oh, go ahead.
Okay, go, Ashley.
Well, I will say that for me, I follow this idea of the Eisenhower matrix. This do, delegate, delay, delete. You don't have to do everything, right? And the things that I can't necessarily do first and urgently, the things that only I can't, like there's some things that only Ashley Scott can do, right? And then there's a whole lot of stuff that anybody else can do. And we have to come to accept that. And so I'm not taking into this 2022 with me this idea that I have to do everything. When we've got Fiverr, we've got Creative Market, we've got Upwork, you've got still Craigslist booming hard. You can find people who can help you. There's even Quick Hire, these new Black Afro tech companies who are solving problems where you can have be a part of the gig economy where you're not the one gigging. You can start hiring other people to gig for you. And I think when we start to take on the mindset of business owners, it's a lot easier to say no, because when you're the boss, you don't have to do everything, right? And so that's what I'm doing, is taking in to 2022 this boss mentality that says, yes, it's okay for other people to do some of this work, especially spending some money to help my economy, spending some money so that I get back my time. Like Maxine Waters says, I'm reclaiming my time. And to do that, you have to be willing to invest in other people and get to know what skill sets and talents are out there in these Upwork markets and places where you don't have to be the one to do everything.
So Don is asking to name those again. So Fiverr, Upwork, Craigslist, Creative Market. Okay, what are the other ones?
I say Craigslist.
Does TaskRabbit still exist?
I'm sure it does in certain markets. I don't use TaskRabbit, but I'm sure in certain markets.
Like TaskRabbit, my understanding, was really good if you needed like a handyman to do something quick, and
Care is really good if you need housework. Care.com is really good if you need housework, grocery errands, or if you're a caretaker and you need additional support if you do senior care.
So there's a ton of places that you can go depending on what the what it is that you need. So Derek, you have something else to say as well?
Yeah, I wanted to add to those to that group of websites you're giving out. A website called Design Crowd. It's where you can get some really good graphic design done for a great price. They do some really great work there.
Right. So Armel, they are in they're in the chat there. You're asking us to repeat. I do want to continue on with this conversation of 2022 coming in. There are several people that have the saying, to finish strong and start stronger. So Derek, what are some of the things that you are thinking of leaving in 2021?
I would say for me, one thing that I do that I would say that I'm probably leaving behind is that sometimes I allow myself to stay up a little bit late at night. And sometimes I'll call it, oh, I'm catching up on a show, or I'm catching up on what friends are doing, right? And I can tell you, it's tragic for the next day. It's something that I have regretted so many times. So now what I do is I allow myself to, I have a tendency to work from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, right? That's just something I've done ever since I was young. And it's like the whole military thing from my dad and all this other stuff. But what I do is on Saturdays, I do no work, right? I do absolutely no work whatsoever. And that makes it so that when I'm going to sleep earlier, when I'm working all day, that it makes me feel like I have this release on Saturdays to be able to watch TV, maybe watch some sports, things like that. And so that's pretty much what I'm leaving behind is these late nights. I just can't do it. And my son is not having it anymore either. You know, he's waking me up.
He's running the house, huh?
Yes.
All of 5 months. Earlier this year, I had an issue with taking my phone to bed and at 3 o'clock when I wake up checking it. So I put one of those locks on my apps, and that really did work. It really did retrain my brain to not like open up email, and all of that. So I do think as you're heading out of 2021 and getting into 2022, at least this is where I am right now in my life, is I'm asking myself what's important for next year. I have my 10-year plan, which I could lay out. That's one of the things I will say as well. Can you say your plan? Like if somebody asked you 3 o'clock in the morning, can you say your plan of like, what's the most important thing to you, like off the bat? Like I can, right? And I think that that's important. And then number two is, what are the things that you're working on and what are the things that you're not working on as well? Or like anything that doesn't fit into one of these two boxes, I'm saying no to. And Tawana will laugh at this if she listens to the replay, because within the 10K project, I've been working on a lot of different things within 10K. And I've been saying to her for the past 2 months, once I'm done with this like final big thing that, is on my list, all I'm focusing on is membership recruitment. So every once in a while, some little scope creep will come up in our officer meetings. And I'm like, no, the only thing I'm focusing on is membership recruitment. And sometimes you have to be like the super guardian of your time if you want within your business, if you want things to go the way that you want them to. And I would imagine for those of you who are parents, it's the same thing as well. Like you have to be the guardian of your time, of your kids' time, with regards to how much social media they're on versus how much studying they're doing and the right type of studying. And are they in the right activities? And are they networking with the right people that can get them into the right colleges if they're choosing to go, and thus get the right jobs? Because 20, 30 years from now, if they don't have the right skills and the right networks, they're going to get left behind, right? So I do think that being productive it's going to have a ripple effect on us for future generations to come. And Donna's saying here, hey, when I get a chance to watch TV, I give myself the gift of binge watching, but on Saturday to recover on Sunday. Yeah, like, look, some people really like TV. One of the things that I don't do that's on my not to-do list is I do not watch, I don't watch like TV shows. I will watch a movie, but I don't watch TV shows. So like I've never seen Game of Thrones. I hear all about it, but I learned not to watch these things because you get wrapped up in it. Next thing you know, like your whole life is consumed with catching up with this stuff, and it just doesn't work well. So I'm going to toss it though, and we have a great question in YouTube as well. I'm going to toss it to my team here, my team of panelists here about what I just said. With regards to kind of your vision and all of that stuff. I said a lot, I know. No, I don't watch Insecure either.
Yeah, well, I know I want to share something that I know that I'm leaving in 2021 is just unnecessary conversations. I've learned that, whether that's on social media or in person, Just in terms of my personality, I like to engage people. I think deeply. I also have a lot of interests. My career is in health and science, but in a former life, I was creative. And even before that, I've spent time working uh, with entrepreneurs, with Black startups as well, and doing business development and PR. And I've also worked in the political space. So one of my challenges is because I've kind of been in so many different industries and have a wide network, it's easy for me to be pulled in different directions in my free time when I'm not working. And so one thing that I'm looking forward to is this coming year is really keying in to what I'm doing now. And investing my time and energy in developing myself for what, to your point, Cherie, what I see myself doing, what my top goals are for next year and for the next 5 years, instead of allowing myself to engage, because I have, like, I enjoy so many things, but what I found is that keeps me from majoring in the majors, so to speak, and then instead of majoring in the minors. So yeah, that's what I'd like to share.
So we have a great question here in YouTube from JJOH. I struggle horribly with laziness. Anyone overcome that? Question mark. So, and Latrice is saying I'm a major procrastinator too at times. So I do consider laziness a little bit different from procrastination. However, I have struggled with both. I have an opinion with regards to it, but it looks like Ashley really wants to jump in on this. So go ahead.
Well, I didn't, but I can. I was going to say that I think when you struggle with that, it's because of a lack of clarity. When you don't know very clearly what it is you want in life, it's easy to be lazy or to procrastinate because you don't have that thing pulling you. But when you are very clear about what it is you want to have happening in your life, what your purpose is, what your mission statement, like what your life mission statement is, it becomes really difficult to sit there and not be actively engaged towards that big why, that thing that drives you. I know that I have a very specific goal. I want trust fund babies. I can't make trust fund babies unless I get up every single day and do what I have to do in real estate and in business with my Freedom Georgia initiative. I've got 502 acres of land. We've got to build it. That's how you do these things. You get that big why, that I have my kids that I'm building legacy for, or I have my mama that I need to retire, or I have this thing that really drives me. And then you attach yourself to that. You put that energy, that emotion on that. You write those goals like our brother Derek talked about every night, with that prayer paired up with it. And now you can't help but get out the bed and do what you got to do.
Yeah. And I have something for this, but I want to yes. Era?
Yes, I would say, wow, man, in terms of procrastination, I heard an incredible quote or concept by Mel Robbins. I'm not sure if people are familiar with her, but she says, first of all, language is important. You are not a procrastinator. You are procrastinating, or you're not a lazy person. You are maybe engaging in laziness. And so you have to, and she said with procrastination and also with laziness, it's what you're avoiding is the pain of whatever you associate with that work. And so, or with that fear that you associate with a lot of times you're procrastinating because you are really afraid that you won't accomplish whatever it is, or you won't accomplish it to the level. So first of all, release the perfection, release this kind of big goal in your head, and just set a timer. I thought it was so practical and so useful. set a timer for 15 minutes and just work, not just work on whatever it is. And don't, and then see how you feel, because what happens is you start to train your body and your mind that this work is not going to kill you, or it's not going to hurt you, because that's when you hold on to that kind of fear and that pain. Yes, someone mentioned atomic habits. Yes, that's that concept. But it's like your body and your mind, you start associating that discomfort with work. And so it's a vicious cycle. But if you just acknowledge that you're having that feeling, set it aside and set that timer and just do it. You are training your body to overcome that procrastination, instead of kind of sitting in that, oh, why am I procrastinating, or what's going on? Just do the work, and even as you accomplish that revelation will come, like, man, why did this seem so much more difficult in my head than it actually was? So, and that has helped me. So the person who asked, have you overcome it? I definitely overcame procrastination by just using that skill or that tactic.
Yeah, so we have here Donna. I'm a mother of 7. Last one just got into college. Congratulations, Donna. Wife and my husband is a general contractor, and we have over 300 clients with Legal Shield. Just got Christmas cards out. That's a lot of writing. And I work a job, have a robotics club I started 5 years ago, and it is still going, and I can't seem to leave anything. So the question then, Donna, is, do you want to leave anything? Do you want, okay, I would ask 2 questions. Number 1 is, are you doing everything really well? So one of the issues that I had earlier this year, and I had to be honest with myself, was I was doing nothing well. When I say nothing, I mean nothing well. And when I really sat back and I was honest with myself, because I'm so tough on myself, it was hard for me to admit I wasn't doing anything well. So then it took a couple of months to get to a point where I say, okay, what can I do well and what should I be doing well? And that was a part of the summertime, me really letting go of stuff. And it was hard, but the hardest part was making the decision to let go of those things. And some of you are at this, it's December 6th right now. Some of you are at this point where over the next 3.5 weeks, you need to seriously think about, what do I need to sever right now? As hard as it may be, the missionaries at church, or it may be, something, to do with, again, some project at work or something like that. But I think that those things are important. So that's my thought, kind of, Donna, with regards to that. Go ahead, Ashley.
And I would just say, Donna, it sounds like your kids are growing up and you are looking at still having so many things on your plate. And I would ask you, the question is, are you preparing people for succession? Are you, as a leader, preparing someone else to take the reins? Because that is a big part of what we should be considering when we think about, how do we delegate? How do we get things off our plate? Well, we do that by ensuring that the next generation has the resources, the skills, the tools necessary to pass it down to them. And you can do that with confidence, knowing that you've been bringing them in and pulling them along the path so that they can get the skills that they need. So succession planning also plays a role in this when we think about productivity.
Yeah, and Donna's saying, with 10 to 15 students that come after school and work hard, I feel an obligation. I would ask you, with the whole succession thing that Ashley is talking about, sometimes people around us need the ability to make decisions and the problem-solving skills in order to be able to do that. And as a micromanager, I can completely understand, if you have an issue with that. It is very difficult sometimes to let things go. But if we want to have more vacation, we want to work on the documentaries that we were saying earlier in our conversation, that if we want to do these other things, then empowering people around us is also going to be important. Just like when your kids were growing up, they got to a point where hopefully you didn't have to make all of their meals, right? And they were able to go in and at least make a sandwich for themselves, make some, put some cereal in a bowl with some milk, because you were working on other things. So that could be a part of it too, is like really looking at not just succession 30 years from now, but like what kind of skills can I teach people today that are around me that can free me up, you know? I will also want to get in on the laziness versus procrastination topic. Derek, I saw your hand was up. Did you want to talk about that?
Well, I wanted to actually talk about what you said with the with Donna and kind of with the succession plan, and also kind of touch on the laziness and procrastination. In regards to succession plans, one thing that I have found is the best way to get started is checklists. And you find out a way to create systems through a lot of these checklists. And by kind of just figuring out what you do from a day-to-day basis, and then bring in that person that you want to do that succession plan with, and kind of just letting them go through that checklist with you daily for a while, they can start taking over some of those tasks really quickly. And so that could really get a lot of things off of your plate quite quickly. So in regards to laziness and procrastination, I'd say in regards to laziness, in my former life, when I was much younger, I was actually a personal trainer. And one of the things that I found out was the number one cause of laziness is posture. It's usually has to do with the way that you're sitting or something that you're doing with your body, that you're actually causing some type of blood circulation constraint within your body. So the best thing to do when you're lazy is stand up. Literally just stand up, raise your arms, and that will usually get rid of 90% of your laziness. And it's because it's just blood circulation, right? You just need to get your blood circulating, get some blood to your brain. That's why you raise your arms, right? And once you get that blood to your brain, usually you can start knocking some things out, right? Even if it's one task at a time, then stand up again. One task at a time, stand up again. One thing that I do sometimes is I like to kind of put some boxes on my desk, and I'll stand up and do a lot of my work. And that allows me to be a lot more productive also, because you're getting some really good blood circulation going throughout the body. In regards to procrastination, the other thing that I have found that's really interesting is that I tend to be somewhat of a procrastinator too. And it's not because I want to be a procrastinator, but it's more because I tend to be a procrastinator because I'm doing so many different things, right? And so one thing that I've realized is that with being focused on exactly what I want to do when I wake up, that has tended to keep me from being a procrastinator. And then at the same time, when I do that standing up thing, what happens is that I usually have to kind of reflect on what I'm doing, right? And so if I feel like there's something that maybe I should be putting my attention towards more than what I'm doing at that moment, it gives me the opportunity to kind of change what I'm doing and kind of shift my focus. So that's pretty much the tips I have on that.
So you partially took what I was going to say, Derek. So with regard to procrastination and laziness, what I wrote down here was Ashley is right with procrastination. If I'm personally procrastinating, it's because I'm not clear about something. And for me, if I'm not clear about something, no matter how many 5 minutes I sit down and try to do something, I'm not clear about it. So the project ain't going nowhere, right? So I'll either work on something else, or I will journal, or I will stretch, or do a power walk or something like that to get my brain clear. And I don't know if it's because I'm a writer and, like a lot of the procrastination with writing is because you don't you don't have like all the words I'm gonna say I don't have all the words together, versus with my mother's business when I worked with her and she was a bookkeeper, numbers are numbers. So like the procrastination wasn't there as much, but I will say that the clarity thing I think is for me, a big part of procrastination. So, really looking at what am I unclear about? Why am I procrastinating about this? Whether it's, a big goal that you have, you're trying to figure out if you're going to go to school, what you're going to take, are you going to do a tech cert? Are you going to lose that weight finally? Like, whatever it is, like, why are you procrastinating with regards to that? What are you unclear about? Um, with regards to laziness, I had an issue this summer, and I ended up going to a holistic doctor and just having a full workup done, head to toe, blood work, all of that. And he told me that I had an energy management problem. So if you're lazy, like truly lazy, like can't get up, can't really function except for bare minimum, one of the things that you may be having issues with is some sort of energy management. You may be going through depression. Let's be real about these things. There may be, other things that are happening with you that you really need to take a good hard look at. And there's no timetable on it, but getting whatever professional help you need, whether it's a therapist or a mental health counselor. A lot of jobs will have, my understanding, within your health insurance, you're able to get access to mental health professionals at no charge. Or if you have a physical issue, then, going to see a doctor that, in my opinion, a holistic doctor was better than Western medicine for, some of the challenges that I was going through this summer. So I wanted to put that in people's ear as well, because sometimes it is physical. So I'll open it up. I'll open up the panel. We got another 5 to 7 minutes to wrap up here. So go ahead, Eero.
Yeah, I was just going to briefly kind of piggyback on what you said. It's really important this year and the last 2 years, but especially this year, it's really important to focus on your emotional health. I think, I kind of, to second what Ashley said, or at least alluded to, I personally do not think that anyone is universally lazy. I think that once your emotional yourself and kind of the whatever blockages you might have, plus with the clarity being in your lane, maybe what you're focusing on is not really for you, and that's what the resistance to doing it, that's what you're experiencing. But and I feel like you've seen this in, in certain public figures, and I'm sure all of us have experienced that once you find that lane that you were kind of, you were created for to do, you were designed, and I shouldn't have used air quotes because it's true, all of us are designed with traits, with skills, with gifts, with propensities to do certain things. Once you're there, I'm telling you, the amount, I can even speak to myself and what I've experienced, because in this season of life and the self-awareness that I have, I know that I'm doing what I should be doing. And the energy that you have is just, it's remarkable, so I think what I want to encourage is, I wasn't sure who said that, but whether you're procrastinating or being lazy, do not beat yourself up. There's a reason for it. Do not condemn yourself. There is a reason for it. And it's just up to you to get self-aware, to focus on your emotional health, mental health, physical health, and to find the reason, because I believe that everyone has a sweet spot where that energy will just come alive. That's it.
Final comments, Ashley?
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about just some things that we should try to implement if you haven't tried it that has been helpful. I think we've all talked about journaling and just having those morning rituals and routines or those evening rituals and routines where you're writing that list. I call it dumping because we have, I think, something crazy like 75,000 decisions that we make each day, right? Something ridiculous. So you have to really start to just write down and track those thoughts, especially if you aren't clear, if you feel like you're dealing with procrastination, if you're dealing with laziness, if you're just not at the level where you want to be. I think writing things down and tracking your thoughts and tracking your time and feeling and understanding, okay, am I high energy in the morning or am I a night person? And just understanding that these rules don't apply ubiquitously across everybody. Like everybody has different, like the sister said, unique traits, unique skills, you have a unique personality and you have unique needs. And so you should try to find the thing that works for you. And I like to do chunking where I say, okay, I have 7 days in a week. On this day, I'm doing this, or during these 4 hours, I'm doing this. And I take a break every hour, even in that 4 hours, so that I can see progress being done. A lot of us multitask. And when you're multitasking, you're like my sister says, you're not necessarily doing each of those things well. And so if you want to be able to get something done and feel like, you know what, I gave it excellence. It might not be perfect, but I put some excellence on it because I took some time today to really put my special talent, my gift into this thing, my thoughts, my energy, and I made it manifest into something that's going to be beneficial for the world. Take a few hours and do that. Schedule that in. Schedule that walk in. Maybe you don't get to walk every day, but you have to have some non-negotiables, some things that no matter what, I'm going to do this thing. And by having that schedule and getting to know yourself, you can figure out what those non-negotiables should be for you so that you can feel your best and feel like you're actually accomplishing things for your big goal and not just those small goals that we get so caught up in sometimes that we're not really living our best lives now. Because I think you deserve to live your best life now and not in some far off future while you're chasing these daily tasks, right? So I hope that that helps. And that's my final thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely would suggest that people do things for today as well as the future because tomorrow is not promised. So, and I love the chat. You all are helping each other find therapists, especially Black therapists. So, and that therapy for blackgirls.com, fellas, y'all can use that too, I'm sure. So, Derek, go ahead. Final comments.
Yes, in regards to final comments, I'd like to say one thing that has really changed my life has been meditation. I think that a lot of people may think that this is some form of hullabaloo. So I mean, literally thinking of gurus and all this other things, but it's much more than this. As Cherie alluded to before and actually spoke eloquently about the scientific aspects of it. Meditation and just taking 5 minutes to sit still and just allow your mind to be still, even once a day, will have extremely productive and positive effects on everything that you are doing in your life. And I can guarantee this. It will make changes for you. And the reason is because you're taking those moments to slow down. And when you do, and your mind is still, you allow yourself to do things that you're unable to do while you're moving and while you're moving so fast throughout your day. And then the other thing that I'd like to touch on is really about the first hour of the day. We spoke about the last 15 minutes of the day, but the first hour of your day is so highly important that it literally cultivates the rest of your day. And by taking that hour and just doing small things for yourself, right? Getting yourself and your mindset act right is really just the most important thing you can do for yourself. For me, my power hour, I do a prayer. right? I do what's called the nerve exercises, which are these exercises that you do that are similar to Tai Chi. And then I do a little bit of a workout, which I call the hundreds. It's a military thing we do: 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 jumping jacks, 100 abs. And then I take a nice shower, right? I take a really nice shower, right? And when I come out of that shower, I'm ready. Okay, I am ready for the day. And that's only an hour, right? I haven't looked at social media. I haven't looked at any phone calls, no emails. My mind is prepared, it's ready. And so that has really changed my life. And as a result, I hope that that can be something that can change your lives as well. And that's all I have. Blessings to everyone.
Thank you so much. And Kim saying 100 push-ups every morning. Yes. Yeah. Military style. Listen. We want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I will say, I talked about energy management today, which I'm now a big proponent of. We talked about, saying no to certain things, saying yes to certain things. I have not, I should have wrote it down on my list, talked about decluttering your physical space, because sometimes that's the issue. But the big thing I want to leave you with is you have pretty much 3.5 weeks till the end of the year. Take this time, especially with the pandemic. I think I'm still able to say that on YouTube. If not, oh well. You still have an excuse not to go to all the holiday parties and things like that. If you, I used it on Saturday, okay? But take this time to really take a step back, focus, send the teenagers out for whatever they're going to do, and give yourself a chance to breathe and focus and figure out what is stopping you from reaching your best, and put things in place in order to get there, because we all deserve to be great, and we all deserve what we want, no matter what. So with that, that is our session for today. Again, the10kproject.com. If you are not a member, the10kproject.com, and you can come and participate in the Bet on Black pitches. Thank you, Ashley, Arrow, Derek. Thanks to